Hurricane Ian is sitting off Cuba right now.
Roger, we'll be there for shortly.
Suspect charge controller. No, I say that, you say you'll come back and do it, but you know.
Especially you. You're never gonna come back and do it.
Whatever.
Dropped quite a few degrees, so we're both bundled up now. Hey, I'm Ashley, and this is my husband Colin. At the start of this year, we traded in our camper van and bought a 1991 50-foot sailboat. Colin has a ton of sailing experience, but me, not so much. Our plan is to update our boat and start our adventure around the world. Come along with us as we experience the lows and the highs of sailing.
We are down here at the boat. Hurricane Ian is sitting off of Cuba right now, and we are, along with a bunch of other people, prepping the boat to get ready. We're keeping an eye on it if it gets really bad or if it shifts and it's going to be a direct hit to Charleston in any way. We have a lineup on getting pulled out and putting up on land. We just have to make that call sooner than later. Right now the track is taking it over Tampa and then up into Georgia and staying over land. If it does that, it's going to dramatically weaken by the time it gets here and could be just a tropical storm or just a tropical depression by that point. But what I'm doing right now is I'm going to get some lines and I'm going to add a whole bunch of double lines and tie everything up. I gotta get to my little secret garage spot that Ashley hates because it's basically storage. But it's stuff right now that I don't know if we need it or not, so I'm holding on to it. One of them being old main sheet, which I'm going to be using as a dock line. It's just going to be a backup dock line. It's not going to be anything that's going to be long term. It's just for this storm, just adding another bit of protection and another point that the boat's tied off to. Here it is. Yeah, I have a bucket full of extra lines and sheets and stuff. You can never have too many for something like this. Yes, this is undersized, but in some cases it's better than nothing. So I'm gonna make a inventory of what I have and then tie up and then see if we need to make a run to West Marine to grab some more lines. Actual proper 3/4 inch, because this 1/2 inch too small for the actual boat for real dock lines, but it'll work as a spring line or something like that. Hi, I'm on C24 and I was wondering if y'all don't mind giving me a hand tying up an additional stern line to one of these pilings out here to get ready for the storm.
Roger, we'll be there for shortly.
Missed some of the action, but we essentially ran that line there. We've had this stern line set up already. I am now going to run a bunch of springs and then double up on the bow lines so we have chafe protection in case one chafes through. One of the projects I'm working on here in Charleston is our solar is not really acting like it should. We're getting power, but we're only getting about 120 watts max out of a 380 or so watt panel. I hooked up a second panel, which you can see there. It's still only pulling, that's a 175 watt panel, and that only pulls 110 max, even when directly at the sun. I believe it's the solar charge controller, because no matter what panel, even if they're both hooked up with a Y splitter, it's still only pulling like 110, 120 watts max. So I ordered a second controller. I'm gonna be switching that out to see if it makes a difference, because right now that's enough just to run the refrigerator when it cycles, but not really charge the batteries. So off of shore power, we're not really getting an actual charge into the system like we should be. So I'm just working on switching those out, and then I'm going to be seeing if the new charger makes a difference. Suspect charge controller. We'll see. I don't think it's a wiring issue. I'm going to be moving it closer to the battery, but it is like 6 gauge. We have the standard solar wires that come out, that gauge, whatever that is. And then it goes into the charge controller, and then out of the charge controller it goes all the way back, like 6 gauge, probably 15-foot run. Which I believe the chart online said it's fine, but I'm going to double check. But it shows the battery, the thing is the battery voltage. It is showing it, the minute the charge controller turns on, instantly shows it like 14 volts. Even though if you put a multimeter on the batteries themselves, which this is connected directly to the battery is reading 13 or 12.8 kind of thing. So for some reason it's reading a higher voltage than the battery actually is. So that's why I think I'm suspect on the actual charge controller itself. So it thinks that the batteries are charged even though they're not, so it's cutting back to power and going into like a trickle charge situation. I moved the solar charge controller, the Victron, from back there down to in here inside. So essentially the run from the solar panel to here is a larger gauge wire, and then it put the solar charge controller a lot closer to the batteries itself. I need to read up on that and see if it's supposed to be as close to the batteries as possible, but we're getting a much better reading, and we're actually charging now. We have 70 watts coming in out of what we're using. We're making 220 or so right now. We're in the positive. We're making more solar than we're using, so it's charging up the batteries. What just came in was the Renergy one. I'm gonna hook it up and just see what it does. The solar any different. It's what I'm used to with all the vans that we built. We've used these Rover MPPTs, and I know how to program it a lot more than the Victron one. The Victron kind of only has 3 main charging options, where the Rover has a lot more. It's a lot more configurable. In my opinion, I'm gonna play around with the two and see if there's any difference in the amount of solar that we're getting. But we're in the positive right now, so that's a good thing. I was able to find out the Victron and the Rover are both making about 200 watts. So either we're running out of solar with the current sun that we have set up, or I need to figure out the run from the charge controller to the battery. We're in the positive right now on charging, so that's good. But it's a project for another day to figure out if the full amperage and wattage is making it to the battery itself. Okay, so it's better, but it's not great. And once I know I'm done with all these projects, I'll come in and really do a good cleanup of all this. But for the time being, it'll be fine. Who knows, it'll probably never get done. Ashley had the same thought. You know, I say that, you say you'll come back and do it, but, you know.
Especially you. You're never going to come back and do it.
Whatever. It happens. Other things pop up that are more important.
Well, good morning. I'm still trying to wake up a little. I just woke up. But last night was a very restless sleep, and we're still 3 days away from the hurricane hitting Charleston. It's supposed to be a tropical storm before it hits us, but last night was very windy. So today we're going to spend the rest of the day taking the Bimini down, the Dodger down. And if we get a window, because I think we missed our window, we're going to take the Genoa down. We put the Genoa up and really strong winds before, but it's very hard and kind of dangerous. So we're gonna try to see if we can get it down without it hitting the other boats around us or anything. And if we can, and there's a good window for the rain, I will. The dogs are back. Did y'all take y'all morning walk? Oh, did you take your morning walk too?
I did. This one took, they both took their morning poos. You excited?
We're trying to teach them to go on the mat on the boat, but they haven't learned that yet, so we still have to take them up. Oh! She just drunk your coffee.
Who?
The drunk one coming down the stairs. The wind is strong out here, so I'm not sure you're going to be able to hear me, so I'm hiding away. But we're about to take our Bimini top down in our Dodger. I don't want to, but since the wind is just getting stronger, we need to. It also dropped quite a few degrees, so we're both bundled up now.
It's 61. It's cold.
And with the wind, it feels a lot colder.
It's currently blowing 14. We're seeing gusts up to 20. And the storm hasn't even hit Florida yet.
3 days away from us. So that's why we're taking everything down, because now we're kind of worried. So let's do it.
The Marina is helping people put these lines onto the additional pilings if you call and ask them. So they're running around helping people get ready for the storm that waited till the last minute.
Boat next to us did an awful job. I'm kind of nervous about it.
We did it yesterday when there was no wind and the current at slack tide, so it was easy. But now there's wind and people are just now starting to come down to get their boat ready. Okay, Ashley.
No.
Come. So what you'll see on probably multiple angles, I did not realize that the only thing holding this bar up was this section right here. So I unfortunately whacked Ashley very hard in the head with the bar. Storm when Colin takes down his flags. Just like the Colbert cow here in town. When the flags come down, stuff's getting serious. We're still here in Charleston. We're as Ashley trips. We're as prepared as the boat's gonna be. We're kind of looking at the storm and deciding whether or not we're gonna stay here for it. If the winds are gonna...
I'm more worried about our car than our boat.
Yeah, the winds we're not kind of concerned about. What we're concerned about is the actual parking lot flooding. And at that point, the car would flood and We don't want to lose the car.
There's supposed to be a 5-foot surge.
Yeah. So if that's true, the parking lot will flood because at high tide, the parking lot's only like 3 feet above, 2 or 3 feet above the actual water. So we're gonna watch it tonight, see what it does tomorrow, and then either head back home.
You know what it is at like 8 a.m.
Gotta come Saturday. Well, we'll look at the track and decide. One great observation we are kind of making is that this is the most amount of people we've ever seen at the marina that are on the boats, not the rental boats here. The actual boats that are in.
We haven't seen half these people before.
Yes.
All it takes is a storm to get everyone out.
Which is good. It means that they actually care about their stuff and they're actually coming out and tying it up. Because we were concerned with some of the boats around us that they had some smaller lines and they weren't tied up real well, but they seem to be doing a good job so far.
There's our towboat.
Yeah. The other part is that the marina staff is going to be here until it gets dangerous, so that's kind of a good thing. They'll be keeping people updated on the radio and stuff like that, and they're essentially going to let everyone know that if they're leaving the marina, it means that they feel that the parking lot's going to flood and there could be substantial damage, and at that point they're going to turn the water off and the electricity off to all the boats. And that's definitely a time to head out and leave.